The Election Monitoring Network has been overseeing this year's municipal elections to ensure they were free and fair. Policy analyst from the Election Monitoring Network, Nkosikhulule Nyembezi, joins me now live from Durban. Very good evening, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. Can we start with some of the hotspots or the red zones that you were observing as the network? What's your take on those zones, KZN being one of them?
Oh, yes, we have been very busy all day because of those hotspots, with all the reports received in places like KwaNongoma, in places like Winen, where there were some flags up. But fortunately, we have not seen many disturbances today, and thanks to the work that has been done on the ground in terms of voter education and in terms of ensuring that people get attention in terms of the issues that they have been raising. The situation didn't go out of hand.
So far, I mean, we've got the voting, the counting process that needs to take place. Has the IEC kept the integrity of this election?
Yes, of course, particularly in terms of the communication with political parties and other stakeholders that are involved, because the communication has been quite good in terms of what needs to happen in the voting station parameter and inside the voting stations. And the party agents have been cooperating in terms of agreeing as to what to do, be it voters in need of assistance or voters whose names did not appear on the voters' roll and had to be double-checked through the electronic system. So it has been an investment, an outcome of an investment in voter education and in terms of conflict management. Of course, the faith-based sector of our monitors in terms of KwaZulu-Natal Christian Council, the interfaith groups have invested a lot in ensuring that we get people who can monitor election, observe elections in the areas in which they live, because we have scarce resources. But we are all happy in terms of how the day progressed.
We spoke with a guest a little bit earlier on. They were also observing the election, and she made a distinction between the rural areas and the cities, the urban areas, in terms of, materials were late in the rural voting stations and so forth. And let me just bring in the VMD, this new system that many people have been complaining about, that has slowed things down a lot. Did you make those findings as well at all?
Well, there were pockets of areas where materials arrived late, but it was not something out of control, in the sense that for all we had, it was pockets of areas. And what was encouraging was in terms of the update that was received midday or between 12 and 2 p.m., showing that the majority of stations had already people who had voted, over 50% that had been accounted for. So even as the message was coming out to say even those who were thinking they will come to vote after dark, they were encouraged to come before dark. So I think it relieves the anxiety when you have early afternoon, at least over 50% of voters being accounted for. It gives hope that even towards the closure of the stations, you will not have a problem of many queues, of long queues, because of people still coming to vote. So we commend that this time around.
So what's your role now at this point? Because we're heading into counting. Obviously, there's still many people to vote, still people who are in those queues. I'm sure you'll want people to vote who are already in the queue by 9 p.m. And then what do you do after that as observers when it comes to participating in the vote count itself?
We're still trying to dissolve tensions where they exist. Also because we also here, as we have seen also outside the results center in Durban, that there are some people embarking on protests. You also see some of that in areas in the South Coast and also in Natal Midlands. So there is work still being done trying to diffuse tensions. And those tensions largely emanate out of issues that are outside of the electoral processes. As people say, it's either land invasion, the issues about electricity, it's the issues about the demarcation of municipal boundaries, all of which might be outside the control of the Electoral Commission. So to the extent that we are not seeing the flaring up of these incidents is what is keeping us busy. And of course, when it comes to counting, we'll also be keeping an eye and to be dispatched in areas where they need our assistance. But we are confident that counting is going to go on smoothly because on average, voting stations are attending to voters of about 1,100. So it needs to be not take too long to count just over 1,000 ballots in each of the stations. We remain optimistic.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much for speaking with us tonight, Nkosikhulule Nyembezi, who is a policy analyst and chairperson of Election Monitoring Network.